So the match started off with some really nice long rallies. As you can see, the coaches are going pretty easy on me here, which is fun because it means you get to build a point. And unfortunately, in this point, I don't realize that the ball has gone out and I'm caught on my back foot and I take it and it goes into the glass. That was followed by another very long point, which pretty much summarizes the entire game. I do a nice lob here, and then the rally continues. My smashes are not exactly doing much, as you can see. They're not quite bandejas either, unfortunately. I'm still learning that shot. And at the net, I'm really struggling to sort of do anything but sort of float the ball up when I get it. This was a fun point. We get to see David do a drop shot at the very end. He's having a bit of a face off here with Oscar and does this lovely shot. This was a brief but fun point. I think what I hit is called a chancletazo in paddle. Not sure. One thing I noticed about the coaches is that they're able to play shots with such wide angles, which is something I'd like to learn. One very relatable struggle is trying to figure out who takes the ball down the line, which I think really just comes down to getting to know your partner. But funnily enough, what followed in this point is a demonstration of how there was no argument as to who would take balls from the back glass, being my coach because I lack the confidence. And as you'll see, my backswing is too long still because of tennis, but strangely, my topspin uh, is a little disorienting for paddle players. This is a nice long point, and it's just a demonstration of how once your opponent knows your weaknesses, they'll play to them. And as soon as they hit hard to the back glass, I'm finished because I can't anticipate where the ball is going to land. This point really shows how important it is to develop a solid backhand in paddle. I'm a double-handed backhand player in tennis, and I also do the inside-out forehand quite a lot, so this is something I need to get better at. Here's another nice drop shot, this time from Oscar. I actually asked him to teach me this on my last day. This is a funny point because the coaches, Rodrigo and Oscar, kind of just keep going back and forth at each other here. And it goes on for a while that I almost forget that I'm playing. And then I end up missing a point because I'm not really sort of like ready. Okay, so this is probably my most effective paddle in the entire game. I managed to demonstrate that I'm thinking about placement over power for a change. Uh, the entire game, I sort of hit things too hard and out like a tennis player does, and the coaches actually managed to convince me to change. This was followed by another nice long rally, and you can see here that the coaches are not going all out on me, which gives me the opportunity to smack the ball, as you'll see here. But their defenses are just so solid, and this fence shot's probably one of my least favorite shots to try and return. Nonetheless, I found my stride here, and this third shot demonstrates I was thinking more tactically, and it's surprisingly simple. But this shot now demonstrates that as soon as I'm pushed back, I struggle to hit an effective bandeja. It's something I'm still learning how to do. We spent a lot of time chatting about how I could improve in between every game. I love this rally because it really shows how often the coaches were using the rouleau to win a point, which is effectively hitting it really close to the fence so it dies on the fence like that. And we're just waiting for him to confirm that it's in. This was quite a nice long point, and I think it demonstrates how effective it is to use the lob to buy time, which is the most used shot in the women's game. For men, they use the Bora more, I believe. But yeah, nice and high. And when we have the moment to attack, we do. So this is where it happens. It goes to the net player, and the net player starts to corner him with faster, deeper shots until he misses. I think everyone gets involved in this point. But this point also demonstrates that the Rulo is quite a high-risk shot, in my opinion, as a improver anyway. Just because you're hitting it so close to the fence, there's a chance that you might actually hit the fence. I mentioned earlier how I started to understand that it's about placement over power in paddle. In this point, I actually tried to finish a shot using power, and it backfires on me because he blocks the ball and it comes back just as fast, and we're not ready because it's like a block lob. We'll see right here. And we're both suddenly caught off guard and we're running back to the glass. And then, although we buy time and get it back, I mess up the glass shot. This point actually demonstrates how much restraint I'm actually playing at the net with, because old me, like a couple weeks ago, would be smacking the ball really hard, like you were trying to finish a point in tennis at the net. And so I learned that having patience bought us time to play the risky shot when it was right. This was one of the longest rallies in the entire game. I think maybe 27 shots or something like that. And if there was a lesson to be learned from such a long rally and losing the way that I did, it is definitely that trying to smash the ball so close to the net is risky play. I mean, I know it's partially technical for me, but I was definitely rushing that point. I remember I was thinking I just need to finish this point because it's going on for so long, and it was risky. And so in this point, I started to attempt to hit closer to the fence and do a rouleau, and managed to pull it off actually, which again just reinforced from the previous point that I didn't even use any power. It was all about placement here. This is a fun point to watch because you actually see the coaches getting into it more. They're starting to play a little bit more aggressively towards each other. And uh, it goes to show that even if you don't have that kind of instinct to kill from tennis at the net, it's still just a natural human thing to do to try and finish the point at the net when you're under pressure. The more time I spent playing with the coaches, the more I realized that paddle is all about who makes a mistake first. So much of my experience to date has been playing with people in the UK based on a game of tennis, which is about hitting winners. With these guys, it's so clear that they're playing the least risky shot. It's based on probability until someone is forced to make a difficult shot, as we see here, a backhand high volley. And in this point, we get to see me make the same mistake I made in the beginning of the match, which is hit a ball which was going out and therefore lose the point. It was a really nice long rally where everybody was involved, and well, Oscar was covering me in the back glass because I lacked the confidence again. But yeah, in this point, we see me reach for the ball when I shouldn't have here. This rally sort of makes me realize that the coaches use their power so sparingly, but in this point, we get a glimpse of their actual power, as you'll see here when Rodrigo smacks the ball. This is another demonstration of the effective use of power. I think David could smack the ball here, but he chooses to buy time instead. But then Rodrigo smacks the ball here, which gets Oscar running, then David running, And it's a very dynamic point where everyone's very involved. I'm still working on my lob, as you can see here. And I love this point because it really drives home the point that if you do a flat smash, it just bounces really high off the glass and gives your opponent time to do what they want with it. And in this case, Rodrigo decides to play a Chiquita to my body, which is the right shot to do, like so. And I kept this point in just because it's one of the rare ones that I won. I obviously pretty much lost single-handedly every point in this game. This is a fun point to watch because my coach Oscar does some funny backhand sort of return shot, which just goes to show how flexible they are with their moves. And there's me missing on the glass. This is one shot that I would love to learn how to do. Essentially, sort of make the ball glide all the way across from one side of the net to the other, as you see Oscar do here. In this point, it's a good reminder that sometimes you can win by hitting down the line, although I was encouraged, generally speaking, to hit more cross court in this match. However, in this point, Oscar hits cross court and then he wins the point down the line later. This is a really bold point, approaching the net player when you notice that they're on the back foot at the net. I mentioned earlier that the lob is the most used shot by women players and the Vibra by men. As you'll see here with Rodrigo, he hits a really powerful shot and he actually apologizes afterwards, but I find it quite fun to actually see what it's like to try and return a shot like that. So there we have it, my amateur commentary of my own game. Definitely playing 2 matches with coaches during M3 Paddle Week was one of the highlights of my time. And thanks very much to my coach Oscar, as well as all the other coaches that participated in giving high quality feedback.